Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Great Scott! There's no crying in baseball!
You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
This is where the fun begins.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That's right, we're ranking 1917. 1917 is a 2019 British war film. In the film, two young British soldiers are sent on a perilous mission across enemy territory to deliver a message that could save hundreds of lives. This was a user-commented movie, so shout out again to Blaze for another excellent suggestion. I remember this movie coming out, but I don't remember having any interest in it. It just looked like another war movie. There's so many war movies, especially about World War I and World War II, especially World War II. So I really didn't have any interest in it and never watched it when it came out, even though it did get a lot of praise. I have watched it before. My fiance actually really enjoys this movie and was the reason I watched it for the first time. And watching it again, it is just such an excellent movie. I do think that war movies are a little bit of a guy thing, so I can definitely enjoy them quite a bit, but this one really is special. Let's get into why with the 10 essential aspects of a movie. First is plot. Does the movie follow a comprehensive story arc and is plausible within the world that has been created? If you are interested in watching this movie and you haven't seen it yet, please just go watch the movie. It is absolutely worth the watch. Don't watch my review yet because there's a lot of things I have to talk about when talking about the aspects of a movie that I just don't want to spoil for somebody who's never seen it. So if you haven't seen it, please go watch it and then come back and tell me how you felt about it. That being said, the plot of this movie is actually incredibly simple. It's a very simple journey in the idea of war storytelling. There's a lot of stories, a lot of movies about especially World War II, but even World War I, there's a good amount of movies on. And a lot of what their storytelling is actual moments of valor, the dangerous parts of a war. And I think it definitely, works for the men audience. We're really drawn to the idea of being a hero and wanting to feel like we would do the same things. We would do the same acts of valor. We would be just as heroic as these characters and enjoy the idea of being a hero and being in a war and doing the right thing. And, the action, the bullets, the explosions, the threat, the danger, it's all really interesting to guys. So they lean into it. And I also think that a lot of that action does help, give you a feeling of the horrors of war, the realities of war, the intensity behind it. I'm trying to, give you an idea of what it might have been like to be these men. But this movie does it in a very special way. It's not nearly as action-packed as most of those hard-hitting movies, but yet it is just as intense. It's actually really genius how simple of a story it is, but how much they tell. And a lot of that is in the way that they unfold the story, right? There's a lot of moments in this movie where there's not much going on. These characters are just moving. They're getting from point A to point B, and they're not talking. They're just going along. And it's interesting. It's intense because they have so much going on in the background. There's so many stories to be told about the war without deliberately telling them, without talking about them. There's so many things placed and so many characters doing things or certain settings that they go to that convey feelings and tell you stories and realities about being in World War I without having to spend a lot of time on them. It's really quite genius. It's a great aspect of this movie. I also want to talk about how this movie begins and how it ends because I really, really love the way that they wrap this movie, and how they begin is it doesn't feel like it takes too long. It starts exactly where it needs to, but it ends in the exact same manner, but in exactly the amount of time that you want or the way that you want. It feels so concise, like so deliberate that you are just telling this story and you don't have to wait to get into it. The movie starts and you're just ready to go and you're locked in and you're learning things and you're watching and observing, and then by the end it wraps up in a way that is very mirroring the beginning of the movie and just feels perfect. It feels so satisfying the way they ended this movie. I just wanted to point that out because sometimes movies can feel chaotic. They may take too long to get into it. They may take too long to end. There's just certain things that are hard to do. It's hard to balance some of those things and please everybody. But I honestly don't think that you could begin and end a movie as efficiently and as well done as they did in this film. Second is attraction. Does the movie have an interesting premise with a high entertainment value? Of course, if you like war movies, then you're going to like this movie. But if you don't like war movies, I would still say give this movie a shot because the way that it is filmed is so unique and the way that they tell a war story is so interesting that I feel like everybody should at least give this movie a try. It's not going to be for everybody, but if you don't typically love war movies, I do think that this is one of the movies that can be and show the intensity of war, but not be as extreme as others before it. Third is theme. What message or truth is the movie trying to convey? I do think that there are probably a couple things that you could take from this movie. I do feel the purpose of the main character is to show this just determination, the ability to do the right thing in the face of adversity and doing something that you just didn't want to do, but you know you have to do. Because there are several points in this movie that the main character just doesn't want to do it. In the beginning, he doesn't want to do it. Several moments in, he feels like he doesn't want to do it. There's points in which he literally looks like he's going to give up. He's tired, he's exhausted, he's been through hell, and he doesn't want to go, but he keeps going because it's the right thing to do. He has to do it. So there is a message here about, kind of the realities of war, especially World War I, the ideas of trench warfare, and I do think that this main character is giving you, some message on determination and getting through the rough times even when you don't want to because it's the right thing to do. Fourth is dialogue. Is there a real feel to the conversations? The dialogue of this movie is really, really great. And one of the reasons it's so great is because it's not that present. There's a lot of moments that this movie is quiet. There's nobody talking, especially for a war movie. So every time there is a conversation, it feels important. But not only that, they also felt really natural. They felt like real conversations and real interactions. I mean, it definitely, not only the way that they talk, but it combined with the way that this movie is shot, it absolutely feels like you are stepping right into real life. Like you have been brought into that time. They just did a good job of making everything feel seamless and feel real. Fifth is acting. Are the characters convincing? There's really only two main actors in this movie that I'll talk about. So first being George McKay as Schofield, really the main character of this movie. His character actually doesn't really do that much with dialogue in this film. There's not that much emotion in the conversations that he's having. Of course, there are some pockets of emotion, but not enough to really show how great of an actor he is. I actually thought he really shined in the scenes that didn't have emotion. There's a lot of times that he has to show a lot of exhaustion, whether it's mental exhaustion, whether it's just being lost and not knowing how to feel, or knowing that he doesn't have time to feel anything, that he has to move on. The moments when he has urgency, you really feel it all. You feel like, wow, this guy is going through it. And he has a really good consistency through this film. As far as his energy from the beginning to his energy to the end, it definitely feels like a good slope of exhaustion, and you feel for him throughout this movie. So I actually thought his skills of being an actor showed a lot more through the scenes in which he didn't have any dialogue. There's also Dean Charles Chapman as Blake in this movie, and he really does a good job of making you feel like he's just this innocent kid stuck in this war that, he hasn't experienced everything that that Schofield has experienced. There's definitely a contrast there and energy there. You feel the emotion when he's there, the urgency of him when he first gets his orders to go save his brother, the ideas of him being ignorant, but then really I thought he shined a lot in, spoilers, his death scene. It's one of the best scenes of the movie for me, just because it feels so much more real than other death scenes. He really does a good job of, conveying this this pain, and though it's cinematic, I like, he really, he turns white and gets very pale, and it's very convincing, like all the times that he's trying to move him and he's yelling with pain, asking him to stop. It feels very, very real, and pulls a lot of emotion out of you because it's just so convincing. He does a really good job with selling that he's dying and the scariness of that and some of the realities of that. Because sometimes I think people undersell how painful it is, especially dying from a stab wound, and how scary that is and what can happen to you and the feelings that you'll have. I just thought he sold that really well. 6 is cinematography. Is there a creative use of lighting, setting, and wardrobe to convey emotion? This is absolutely the best part of the film. This is the reason that this movie should be in every top 100 list and should be seen as a modern classic. The movie sets itself up to look like it is 2 very long shots and nothing more. Only one cut, pretty much, I would say 3/4 of the way through the movie. It's amazing. I mean, the execution is absolutely amazing. It's genius the way they set it up. Of course, I wouldn't blame you if you were convinced that they did shoot these in 2 long shoots, but of course that would not be practical in any way. It'd be so hard to do something like that. So there are actual several cuts throughout this film, but the way that they set them up, it's so seamless you wouldn't notice them. If you're paying attention and trying to find where you thought they would cut it, you can find the places that would be like, oh, I'm sure there's a cut there. But you never notice it, really. I mean, it's amazing. It's so well done. And that being said, there are still, because they were filming it the way they were and making it look like one long shot, there are several scenes in this movie that are incredibly long. Like, no cuts at all. And I imagine that took a lot of effort, but the execution is amazing. That alone makes this movie so memorable, but it has so many other factors that are really well done. But that one is just so unique and interesting that I would watch it so many more times just for that aspect, because it feels so different and so fun. But not only that, they execute it, like I said earlier, they execute the intenseness of the movie so well, because even when you're watching them traverse these distances, there's so much to look at. There's so many different settings that they go through that tell so many stories. It's so fascinating to go through and watch. And they also kind of manipulate time and distance in this movie. So sometimes it feels a little weird, but they're trying to convey, hours and hours on end and miles traveled in a 2-hour movie. So they do have to play a little bit with time and distance, and you kind of feel it a little bit, but really it's really smooth and well done. It's quite amazing what they were able to do with this film. Now, as far as emotion goes, kind of the beauty of the emotion of these movies is the reality of war itself, and the fact that this was a real war in which people really did die. This was really people's jobs, and a lot of what they're portraying is real things that happened, and that's always going to, at least for me, bring some sort of emotion out of me, because I just can't imagine being in those shoes, being some of those men, and how miserable it was, and having to, just wish that you're gonna go home and take it one day at a time, knowing that your next day might be your last, seeing a lot of people die, knowing that you might die yourself. But then also these people decided to just be brave and do things because they had to. That's what had to be done, even though their life was on the line. So there's a lot of realities there that just the movie existing and talking about those topics will make it emotional overall. I do think the movie lends to being emotional. It's not, I've seen more emotional war movies, but of course the reality will always hit. The one moment that I thought brought a lot of emotion was Blake's death. They do a really, really good job. It's incredibly sad, and even the moment, it's Blake's death is 1, and 2 is the very end when he does tell his brother and he walks over to the tree. Those 2 moments I thought were incredibly emotional. I thought they were handled really well, but a lot of the emotion of this movie comes from the reality of this being a real war, and a lot of actual men had to go through what goes on in this film. 7th is editing. This is all about the pace of the movie. The movie is 1 hour and 59 minutes long. It's really quite incredible that they were able to pack so much of a story within this timeline. I mean, a lot of movies have to go over 2 hours, and though I know it's only 1 minute away from 2 hours, it's pretty incredible to tell as much as they did and have you be so committed to this story and have so much be in there and only need an hour and 59 minutes. It's a good length. It doesn't feel that long because it is just so interesting. It's actually quite incredible that they made this movie in less than 2 hours. Eighth is soundtrack. Now, there's a lot of movies that it's hard to notice the soundtrack, but this one, you notice it. It's really well done. I actually think a lot of this movie, it adds to the scenes without you necessarily paying attention. It just makes them more emotional because it's just really good music. The one scene that it's so deliberate and I really enjoy is the moment when he does roll up on D Company from the river, and they're all sitting in the trees and one guy is singing to everybody before they're about to go to war. It's a really well done moment. It's one of the best scenes in the entire movie. I really like what they did there with music and having this calmness of like him finally making it. He did it. He's got past the river and he wanted to give up, and then there's just that one extra thing to get him there to his final destination. It's really a special moment. I like the music that they chose. The song that he is singing is really nice, and of course sung really well. There's also good music at the end. I think it turns intense. They really turn it to 10 at the end when he's walking to the tree, and it really makes for an emotional moment. It's really beautiful. There's some great music in this movie for certain scenes. Ninth is directing. Now, I feel the director's in charge of the previous 8 aspects. They're the ones that have to put it all together, give it their stamp of approval, and make a really good movie. Now, the director of this movie is Sam Mendes, and this was his 8th film. The 8 total films that he had directed to this point were American Beauty, Road to Perdition, Jarhead, Revolutionary Road, Away We Go, Skyfall, Spectre, and finally 1917. He would actually direct 2 more movies after 1917. I have not seen any of his other films. This is the only one, and usually I like to watch 3 movies before I make a real decision, but I mean, just based off of this one, absolutely deserves to be a director. It's an incredible movie. I love the one-shot aspect. I think the details and the storytelling and just making it feel unique are simply amazing. Like I said, this movie should always be in the top 100. It should be an instant classic. I mean, it is just so well done. So I'd be really interested to see if I would enjoy any of his other movies as much as I did this one. 10th is time. Will it stand the test of time? Absolutely. Like I said, that one shot is so unique, and I think it will always stick with this movie. But even then, it's just so well, it's executed so well and feels so different that I think this is by far the best World War I movie I've ever seen. I'd love to watch some other ones to kind of compare it, but I think it will always be remembered as being one of the best war movies ever made. Even though there are so many that have already been made, this one stands out among the rest. Now for the review section. Rotten Tomatoes critics gives it an 88, the audience gives it an 88, and IMDb gives it an 82. I think they're all way too low. I personally would give this movie probably about a 96, maybe a 97, 95, somewhere in that range, maybe depending on the day you ask. I think this is a terrific film. I mean, I have nothing to complain about. It's an amazing movie. It executes so well on so many levels and so many aspects of the movie. The only thing that is holding back for me is just the fact that I think there are movies that give you better moments to show off acting. I think this movie is more about the storytelling. The story carries the movie, and the actors do a tremendous job, but those moments just aren't quite there. Not that they ever needed to be, but it does hold it back a little bit for me because there are films that have those moments that I think are a little better. And one of the main things that draws me back here is the way that they give you emotion in this movie. It's not necessarily the characters themselves, though there is a moment in which it is emotional. A lot of my emotion for this film stems from the fact that it's just a reality. It's something that actually happened. And thinking about the fact that real people had to go through this kind of war and these kind of just atrocities is just sad. It makes me sad. And I do feel that there's more credit to be given when a movie makes you feel that way about things that aren't real, right? It makes you invest in a character that isn't real, that's going through something that never actually happened. I think that that's actually a little bit more impressive, just because it's all made up, so you had to manufacture all of that emotion. Where this one, you don't necessarily have to do that. You just have to put me in the right frame of mind to realize that this actually happened to people, and if you're sympathetic to human beings at all, you'll feel that emotion. So it's being very, very picky. This is an amazing movie. I really have nothing to complain about. I would easily put this movie at a 95, 96. Finally, for the rankings. For the year of 2019, it's the only movie I reviewed, so it's going to be first on entertainment and first in cinematography. For the decade of the 2010s on the entertainment side, out of 7 total movies, it is going to be first above Hell or High Water. I just think that 1917 keeps your attention better than Hell or High Water. I really enjoy that movie. They're both serious movies with serious tones, but I just think that the one-shot aspect of 1917 keeps your attention better, keeps you on the edge of your seat, doesn't give you a break. I think there's more going on in 1917 than Hell or High Water. There's more to look at, especially in the background. I just think if I had to watch one of those movies or show somebody one of those movies, I would prefer to show them 1917. I think that has a broader audience appeal just because it's executed so well. Cinematically, out of 7 total movies, it is going to be first above Inception. And the real difference between these movies is, I think, the way you are going to feel emotion. I think Inception does a beautiful job of getting you to feel some emotion, but that's probably the only thing that's really lacking in that film. I feel emotion, but I do think it's kind of circumstantial because I'm able to put myself in the main character's shoes. I can relate to them in some sense because they're a guy, I'm a guy, he has a wife and children, I want a wife and children, so it's just like I can relate to them where maybe other people couldn't, and it wouldn't be as emotional because they're different people. I think 1917, the reality is just more applicable to a lot of people. Just the horrors of war and how intense it is. I do think that the scene of him dying is much more intense than what happens in Inception. It's longer, it makes you stay with it longer, you're more invested in that character. So I think that they both have arguments to be made on the quality of how they are made, but I just think the emotional side of 1917 is definitely done better than Inception. Now, all time on the entertainment side, out of 92 total movies, it is going to be 8th, just below Sonic 3 and above Hell or High Water. I know it's kind of ridiculous to be below Sonic 3, but the way I have everything set up, they're both in the same tier. People who watched Sonic 3 enjoyed it just as much as the people who watched 1917 enjoyed it, except Sonic 3 is so clearly much more of an entertainment movie. People really, really enjoyed it, so I just give it that. I give Sonic 3 the bump up because personally, would I rather watch 1917? Yeah, definitely. But the difference is there's a reason I have an entertainment side and a cinematic side. To give credit to those movies that are made for entertainment, and that's what I'm doing. That Sonic 3 movie is made for entertainment, and it worked. People really loved that movie just as much as they loved 1917. But it's just made for entertainment more than 1917, and it's above Hell or High Water for the exact same reasons as before. Now, cinematically, out of 92 total movies, it is going to be first above Inception. It's there for the exact same reasons as before. All right, that's all I've got for 1917. Sorry if I'm a little low energy. It's very late. I've had to shoot this a million times at this point, but I have to, I really needed to get it done today. I'm actually surprised. I thought Inception was going to be up there longer. I kind of forgot that 1917 was suggested, but watching that movie, it is so well done. If you've watched 1917, please give me your opinion on it. If you didn't like anything about it, I'd really love to hear what you didn't like about it, especially if you feel like it's an objective thing that just wasn't well done. I'd really love to hear that, but please give me your opinion on it, period. What you loved, what you didn't love. That's why I made the channel. I wanted to interact with people who also love movies and hear their opinion. I'm a small channel, so I see every comment and reply to everyone. That makes sense. If you want to comment a movie, please do, and I will review it and tag you in it when I review it. But otherwise, that's all I've got. I'm Mr. Majoritarian. Stay classy, San Diego.